Hi, it's Miss Morgan, Can't Stop, Won't Stop Civics, and this video is going to go through some slides about the Electoral College. If at any point it goes too fast, you should pause the video. All right, here we go. So the Electoral College is something only used in the U.S. This sign is from the 2016 presidential election. Here are some signs from the 2024 presidential election, and there's a variety of signs. Some people towards the top and middle, Jill Stein, were on the ballot. The ones at the bottom were Republicans that were in the primary, at the primary stage. Do you know what really happens when you cast your vote for President of the United States? So when you cast your vote for President and Vice President, you're really just choosing a group of electors from your state who have pledged to vote for the candidate you vote for, if that candidate wins the most votes in the state. So when I vote in Massachusetts on election day for president, if the person I vote for wins the state, that political party picks the electors that go to the Electoral College to cast the votes for Massachusetts. This is where the Electoral College is explained in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers, who created the government for our country, thought that the Electoral College would be a safeguard against uninformed voters, because back in the 1780s, if a person lived in Massachusetts, it was hard for them to know about a candidate from South Carolina or Georgia, right? The distance was far, they traveled by horse, and info traveled slowly. We do not have this problem in 2025, but this is one of the original reasons why the Electoral College was created. So you can see here, I tried to demo that with some people in Massachusetts. We have someone in Pennsylvania. We have someone in North Carolina and Georgia. So a person in Massachusetts would have trouble finding out about candidates from the South and vice versa, right? And so the Electoral College was kind of like a setup that would try to deal with the fact that in the 1780s, it was hard to find out about news from other parts of the U.S. Electors are people, and they're part of the Electoral College that meets in mid-December. And when they meet in mid-December, that's kind of like a formality of the whole election process. And there's different ways electors are chosen. I went kind of fast on that. I'm not going to test you or quiz you on that. It's not crucial for you all to know that, in my opinion. And they're usually people who are really into the Republican Party or really into the Democratic Party, depending on which side wins in a given state. There's 538 total electors, which is the number of people in Congress plus 3 electors for Washington, D.C. That was added as part of the 23rd Amendment to the Constitution. Remember, pause the video at any time if this is going too fast. I'm trying to make it so this video isn't too long. 2 senators. Every state has 2 senators. Remember, Senate has 2 syllables, Senate, and each state has 2 senators in the Senate. And here's how the Electoral College numbers for each state are figured out. Each state has 2. Then you add it to the number of reps from that state, equals the total. 11. We have 11, so that means we have 2 senators, and 11 minus 2 is 9, so we have 9 reps. Census. All right, here's the census picture from 2010. The census happens every 10 years. So the last census was in 2020. The next one will be in 2030, then 2040, then 2050. You got the point. Okay, so you count all the people in the U.S., or do your very best to do that. And then you figure out if a state's population has increased or decreased. And if it has increased a certain amount, then your state might gain an elector. And if it's decreased, your state might lose an elector or 2. Or you could gain an elector or 2. But typically, if the number of electors in a state is going to change, it's going to be plus or minus 1. And a lot of states just stay the same. All right, so this slide shows different parts to highlight of the notes. A candidate needs 270 Electoral College votes to win. That is the magic number, 270. Did you know it's possible to win the popular vote, that's the vote cast by the people, but lose the Electoral College vote? So more people in the U.S. could vote for you, but if you don't win the right combo of states in the Electoral College, womp womp, you do not win the presidency. What? Okay, all states but Nebraska and Maine have a winner-take-all rule for the electors. So the candidate who wins the state's popular election, the popular vote gets all of the state's Electoral College votes. So if a candidate wins Massachusetts by 10 votes only, let's say Kamala Harris won Massachusetts in 2024. If she only beat Donald Trump in Massachusetts by 10 votes, okay, it was more than that, but I'm making up numbers for example purposes. If she won by 10 votes in Massachusetts, she would still get all 11 of the Massachusetts Electoral College votes. That's why it's called winner takes all. So when all of the votes in the U.S. have been added up, it means that someone could have a lot of votes from all the people when you add up all the people in the United States, but they did not win the right combination of Electoral College states and numbers to get the 270 to win to become president. This has happened a bunch of times. Some I filled in for you. 1824, Andrew Jackson won the popular vote, but John Quincy Adams from Massachusetts became president. Now, Andrew Jackson later became president in a different presidential election, but I'm pretty sure it was 1828. But at first, in 1824, he got the most votes from the people, but not the right mix of states for the Electoral College to win and become president. Oh, I gave you Grover Cleveland. All right. And this also happened in 2000. Okay, so pause the video as needed to fill that in. And in 2016. Hillary Clinton had 3 million more votes than Donald Trump and did not win the right mix of states for the Electoral College, so did not become president. So we still have not had a female president. Okay, good and bad of the Electoral College. This is the pro side. These are the arguments to keep it. I mean, it's in the Constitution. The Constitution would have to be changed for the Electoral College to change. It's very hard to change the Constitution. But the pro side, it's what the Founding Fathers created, so we got to stick with it. It makes sure no part of the country is ignored. So in some presidential elections, all those little 3 Electoral College vote states can add up and make a difference. The last time that happened was in 2000, but it's possible, okay? So a person can't totally neglect the smaller states because it could make a difference in the outcome. It's just in recent elections, it hasn't worked that way. Okay, the con side, it can ignore the people's votes and can be outdated. So like I said, when Hillary Clinton in 2016 had 3 million more votes than Donald Trump but did not become president, that seems to ignore the people's votes. And outdated, well, it was created in 1787. And back in 1787, as I explained previously, there was a communication and news issue, right? In Massachusetts, how would you find out about a candidate from the South and vice versa? In 2025, we do not have that problem. In fact, I say we have too much information sometime, but one of the original reasons why the Electoral College was created is not relevant anymore. And some states have too much power. You saw that video where it said if a person wins 11 of the 12 most populated states, they could become president. And obviously, candidates want to focus on the big states, big, highly populated states like California and Texas, New York, Florida, because winning those states will help their total and help them get to 270. Will really help to get to 270 to win in the Electoral College. All right, this last slide shows you what to highlight if you haven't done that already or we haven't done it in class. So pause it and highlight, and then there it is. You should be done. All right, that's it. Bye.